Hello, and welcome to inFOCUS, where we talk about the people and the programs that make Washington Courthouse City Schools and the community a great place to live and learn. Today, we are going to be talking to Mrs. Amy Brown and Mrs. Dianna Wayne, the curriculum directors for Washington Courthouse City Schools. And they are going to talk to us about an incredible program, the Science of Reading program here at Washington Courthouse City Schools, and some wonderful recognition that our own Governor DeWine has bestowed upon two of our schools specifically, Cherry Hill Primary and Belle Intermediate. So thank you for being here with us, and welcome to inFOCUS. Welcome to another edition of inFOCUS. And today we have with us from our curriculum department here in Washington Courthouse City Schools, Mrs. Amy Brown and Mrs. Dianna Wayne. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you here today because we've been working really hard as a district on something that sounds new, but it really is about literacy, helping kids learn how to read. But we've been hearing about the words science of reading. And for some of our viewers, they might not know what the science of reading is. So could we hear an overview of what the science of reading is, and then how are we involved in it, and where have we come through this process?
Well, we would love to talk about this because literacy has been a real focus in our district, as well as in the state of Ohio. Okay, so Ohio is up there in leading the nation in how to get our students to be better readers. So when you say science of reading, it sounds a hard term, but what it means is we're saying, let's begin this work based on evidence that works best for our students. And this evidence is based on a large body of research that comes from psychology, that comes from fields in education, that comes from neuroscience, how our brain actually processes the task of reading. So there's all this body of research, and then from that research we've learned, how do students actually learn to read and write? Why do some students really struggle to learn to read and write? And then as teachers, we lay out this clear path, step by step, of how they do need to learn the task of reading. Because there's 5 basic components. Like, students have to know what those sounds they're hearing. That's that phonemic awareness. And then how do those sounds match up and connect with the letters? That's your phonics. And we've all, I bet you learned how to read with phonics.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay, so you've got phonics, and then you have smooth reading, which is fluency, and then you have understanding what you read as comprehension, and then the other one is, help me, Amy Brown.
Comprehension?
No, I said
Okay.
comprehension.
Vocabulary?
Vocabulary. So we've got to have vocabulary. So those components are all part of this science of reading. And it's not just a program, okay? Those are all those things that we need to do as educators to make it the best learning environment for our students.
So basically the state's saying this is not a haphazard thing that we're going to be doing just to be doing it, that there is research behind this, and after all the mounds of research that has come in, they put these 5 pieces, these 5 components into a program to help us, to help the students to learn
Correct.
to read.
Correct.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So what's, here in Washington Courthouse specifically, what's the timetable? Where do we start and where are we now?
So you've heard the saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Yes.
And what started 5 years ago, if you'd have told me 5 years ago we would just be getting here, it would be discouraging. But that's how this works. It's one day at a time. It's learning as you go. It's improving every day, getting better every day. And 5 years ago, there was a team of us, just 5 of us, that started taking a training for struggling readers. Because we have struggling readers. Mm-hmm. And we take that very seriously. We want every child to walk out of here successful. And reading's a big piece of that. So we had this core group of the 5 of us, and we learned Orton-Gillingham. And Orton-Gillingham is simply just an approach to teaching reading that especially helps struggling readers. And this was a whole year that we went through this training. And even in the training, we had to each have a practicum student. We had to work every week with a student on what we were learning. So we were so impressed with everything that our students were doing. They were learning to read. And these were students that were really challenged. So we were sharing just organically with teachers, like this is what we were doing, and they were so excited about what we were doing. They wanted to know more. So we kind of started like a peer coaching model where we would meet and we talk about, all right, what can we teach them today? And we would create slides and we create professional development around it. And then I came to you, I said, Dr. Bailey, everybody needs to have this, but that wasn't really conducive to do that particular style or that particular model because it was costly. It was just one presenter, so we went with letters. That language essentials for teaching, reading, and spelling. And letters is professional development for teachers around the science of reading. It took us 2 years, but all of our kindergarten, all of our first, all of our second, our third grade ELA teachers, and even some of our fourth grade teachers went through this 2-year training. So once we kind of had that, then these teachers just started to run with it. Then they wanted to make some changes, just small changes in what we were doing. And so again, I came back. We need a literacy coach. Dr. Bailey. Mm-hmm. We hired Heidi Robertson because we needed someone to get in there and help support our teachers with these changes that they wanted to make because they had this new learning. And I just want to interject real quick because if you're watching this and you're saying, well, haven't you always been teaching reading? Yes, we've always been teaching reading. But in post-secondary, when even myself, years and years ago, went to college, you weren't taught this way to teach reading. And so our teachers weren't necessarily trained in this, okay? And that's something that's changing too. Post-secondary is getting on board with better training our teachers to be prepared for this. So they were learning things that they hadn't learned before, and they were so excited. So we had this coach come on board, and then we added a dyslexia screener called Acadience, where we screened all of our students. And if they were red, meaning that they were flagged as needing support, we were getting them in small groups. And then we started focusing on these small groups. So they were getting their whole classroom instruction and then getting a small group with that specific help that they needed. And then we thought, well, now we need a diagnostic test so that we know exactly what every child needs to work on. So we've added those. Then we got a new curriculum. And the state actually has a list of approved curriculum, and we looked at that approved list. We got the support from our own state support team, Debbie Mickey. Holly Burgess is another one, and Heidi Robertson was with me. And we kind of vetted these curriculum that the state kind of put out. And we found one that, a couple of them that we liked. We had the teachers really vet these. We had teachers go and do visits in other districts and watch it in action. And they voted unanimously for this new curriculum, which is CKLA. We used it last year. This is our second year. So you can see all those pieces that over 5 years from just us learning things, from all of us learning things, to implementing new curriculum and programming and small groups and assessments. Who does the kudos go to? These teachers. They're working so hard and not complaining. As a matter of fact, they're always asking, what's next? Or what about this? So they challenge and push us.
Yeah.
So,
That's amazing. Well, just looking back and hearing that story about where we've been certainly brings back a lot of memories. But going back to the letters program, you came to me and talked about this program, but this was before Science of Reading officially came out. So we had the foresight to kind of say we need to do better for our
Right.
kids.
Right.
And so, which puts us at an advantage in terms of the other 600 plus school districts because we started this process
Right.
several years in advance. So kudos to the curriculum department for getting us jump started on this and getting us going. And I also want to point out the adoption process for the new curriculum, the CKLA. That was not like a month-long process. That took over a year to vet that and to bring that to the Board of Education to get that approved,
Right.
correct?
correct.
Yeah, so I know the teachers worked really hard on that. So that brings us to today, I guess you could say, in the fact that we are fully implementing the CKLA. The teachers are doing an amazing job with this. We have our administrators, they've all gone through the Science of Reading program, the professional development that needs to be done, including myself, building administrators, other administrators in the district. So just recently, I guess in early winter, maybe late fall, we have the governor puts out that he wants to recognize those schools who are implementing the program, the Science of Reading, even though it's not a program per se, but this concept of the Science of Reading. Who's implementing this at the highest level? So he kind of put out to the 3,000 plus school buildings in the state that they have the opportunity to. It's a self application, but you can apply for this if you are on the forefront of this. So, Mrs. Brown, why don't you tell us what happened next? So we decide we're in the thick of this, that we're going to go ahead and apply for the Science of Reading recognition, and you can give us the official name. But what does this look like for us then when we applied, and what does it look for us today?
So, as Dianna so elegantly put it, the governor started this initiative back in 2023 for a statewide initiative of really raising literacy achievement. Like I said, we were on the forefront of that, starting our process in 2020, as she mentioned. So for us, it's just the fact that, out of all 3,000 buildings that in the state of Ohio, 47 got recognized. 2 of them are from Washington Courthouse. So that we're very
Wow.
honored and proud of all the work that our teachers have done, because they're really the ones who have led this charge to get us to even be able to be recognized for this award. Without them putting in all the work and dedication and commitment and time and energy into really learning these strategies and learning how to teach reading using the Science of Reading strategies, it's really been about them and what they've done. And also, our families entrust us with their students, and we want to make sure that we're always doing best practices and making sure that we're always really, doing what needs to be done so every student walks out of Washington Courthouse able to read.
That's exciting. That's wonderful news. Congratulations to the entire Washington Courthouse City Schools family, really, the whole Blue Line family on the recognition. So 2 of 47 buildings are from Washington Courthouse being recognized at the state level by the governor. What are some of the components when we filled out the application for that? What are some of the things that they asked? Certainly, I know it was a lengthy process. But what are some of the things that they wanted to make sure that we were doing to receive that award?
I'll take one of them if you don't mind.
That's fine.
So when we talk about that Science of Reading professional development, because we did letters, we were kind of already ahead of that curve, because all teachers need to be trained in the Science of Reading in the state of Ohio. And because we had letters qualified for completing that. So you can see we already had a whole building that you could say they have the Science of Reading certification. So we did that. We also did a key vocabulary routine, which comes from Keys to Literacy. And that PD also counted for some of our Belle Aire teachers because it's also aligned with the science of reading and was on the approved list. So part of the application is you have to have your teachers, at like 90% of
90%.
them, trained in the science of reading and having completed
Yeah.
this. And we had over 90% of our teachers.
That's amazing.
And I think that was probably the box that got us right in the door.
Yeah,
So, again, it's our teachers. It's
yes,
our teachers. So,
absolutely, absolutely.
Some of the other pieces that they looked at was the data piece. How has your data improved since implementing the science of reading, those pieces? So, we were very happy to say that since we've adopted Acadians, using that as a benchmark, because that looks at kind of the task of reading, that this is the first year since we've had Acadians, this is year 3, that our students have not dropped in the winter benchmark. So we have more kids in the winter on track than we have in the past. So that was a piece we were able to do. The other piece was some family engagement pieces with our literacy nights, our orientations, the fact that we get our families in it, that they are a true partner with us in this journey, is another piece that we were able to highlight, that the partnership between us and the families was another piece that was a big piece of the application process.
That's amazing.
so you had to have evidence
Yeah.
that this work is being
So
completed.
this isn't just our feeling.
No,
No.
this is not our feelings. This is all based on the evidence that we've committed to and completed in this district.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what do we get for winning the award? What are they going to send us?
So, we get a banner,
We get a banner.
but it's more than a banner. It's that thought that we're doing this every day, and sometimes you don't pick your head up long enough to see where you've come from, and we're so hopeful that as our teachers, we need to do more recognition of them. This is brand new. We just found out
Yep.
last week as we move forward with this that they just see that, this is paying off. This is
Yes.
paying off for our students. And this is why we do what we do, because we want to make it the best for our kids. So I think that it's just that satisfaction, internal satisfaction, that we are on that right path, and we have a lot to be excited about for our
Absolutely.
students. So-
Absolutely.
And that we're doing what's
And a
best
banner.
for kids.
And we get a banner.
And the banner. Yes, that's important.
And-
We're hoping to get the governor here.
Okay, so I was going to go ahead and tell you right now. Look in the camera. Governor DeWine, Melissa Weber Mayer, she is the chief of literacy at the literacy department, or the director of the Department of Education, Stephen Dakin. Please come down. Please see our amazing students. Please come and see our teachers and all the hard work that they've invested. We would love to see you here. So glad you brought that up. Personal
Absolutely.
invitation for them to come.
Absolutely. We want them down here. We are on the forefront of literacy for our students, and we are very proud of the things that we're doing. We love our parents. We want to partner with them. What can parents do at home to help with literacy? What are some things that we want them to do?
They can read at night with their children. They can also reach out to their teacher. Their teacher will be more than happy to send some additional supports or activities that they can do. That would be grade level appropriate, because it's going to depend on for each age. They need books. We can make sure that they are getting books sent home.
Yes.
So reading at home with their children is one of the top things
Yes.
that they can really do.
Partnering with the teachers.
Yeah.
Be our partner.
Yeah.
And we want to thank our parents. They have been very supportive of the new curriculum. We hear a lot of good things from parents when we meet with them about how excited they are about what their children are learning, because CKLA has skills, which is what I talked about, that phonics piece and the vocabulary, but it has this knowledge piece where kids are learning really rich content, and it builds each year. And the parents, they laugh, they say, they come home and ask us questions. We're learning with them.
Yes.
So our parents have been, like I said, very engaged and very supportive of the curriculum, but we want to extend more of that. Like, if you have a struggling reader at home, reach out to your teacher, okay? Because I guarantee you we're doing everything we can within that school day, but if there's something that we need to support you outside of that, please let us know.
Yes. Absolutely. And speaking of partners, I just want to give a shout out to Carnegie Library
Please do,
because it's a phenomenal library system.
Yes.
If you've not lived anyplace else, we are very blessed to have Carnegie
We are.
Library, and the people who are there love literacy. They love to partner with the school and the parents, and there are a lot of free programs there that students can go to, especially over the summer when they're not in school. So I just, implore parents to check out Carnegie Library for programming and obviously books.
And thank you for mentioning that, because we did include them in that application for this award.
Yeah.
Because we do partner with Carnegie Library. They're wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else about literacy before we wrap this up?
I think we just want to go back and take a moment for those thank yous. We thank our teachers wholeheartedly who have been committed to this work. When I think about the future of where this is going, I just sat in a BLT yesterday at Cherry Hill, and like I said, they're driving this now. We're getting ready to implement a new writing curriculum next year, because they're saying, we feel like in this curriculum we could do more with writing. We're looking at the schedule to make sure that all kids get groups. I mean, there's so many things that they're driving. So I think that's exciting. So we thank our teachers so much. We have wonderful building principals. Mr. Craig Maddox, Mrs. Megan Anderson, that's our Cherry Hill primary. We have Brian Cartwright and Angie Haycock at Belle Aire. Just great instructional leaders who have helped with this and supported the teachers.
Debbie, Mickey, the state support team, they've been phenomenal in helping continue this work with us. Whenever we have teachers who may need a PD or some additional information, they're always right there to help and walk beside us during this journey. Heidi Robertson, our literacy coach, her being a support to teachers, being in those buildings, really diving in, helping them look at the data, where do we need to, what interventions do we need to implement, is it working, if it's not working, what can we do different, going and modeling, coaching them. I mean, we wouldn't be in the position we are in without her support as well for our teachers. So the big
Okay.
thing is supporting those teachers and letting them know how valuable they are. It's what they do every day that really makes a difference for our kids.
And I hope I gave enough shout outs to you, because this has been a long journey.
It's been a long journey.
And every time, if I've come for anything, it was a yes. And I thank you for that.
Well, it's for the kids.
It's for
for
the
our
kids.
students.
It's for our kids.
We are going to do what's best for the students, and we had the forethought to jump on board early. And well, thank you for joining us for this episode of inFOCUS. Thanks to our guests today, Mrs. Dianna Wayne and Mrs. Amy Brown, our wonderful curriculum directors here at Washington Courthouse City Schools. We'll see you next time.